Hi, it's Sherry St. Marie, and we are live for a class that I've never publicly done before. I've talked about this a whole lot. This is the first time I'm just going to share it straight out with everybody. So there are a lot of people that are familiar with what this is. And so it's not like I created something brand new and I'm telling you hot about it, right? I am going to explain to the general public this whole thing about a muse and why general population have been a little bit short-sighted or perhaps immature because of stereotyping to understand the amazing tool and resource a muse can be if you would like one or want to be one. And here's what the topic is tonight, right? It is discover how a muse can be used in life and business. It is an amazing, brilliant thing. So I will back up and let you know. Most people in society think a muse is either a creative and used for just creative people. How sad. We in our culture used to think certain people are creative and other people are not. And so then there was this whole special little secret stuff we creatives got to do and the rest of society didn't. Well, then thank gosh we woke up and realized every single person is creative. Even if you don't feel like it, you definitely are. And there are all different levels of creative. We have been so short-sighted by just calling an author or an artist or a painter a creative. Because again, really anybody who's solving a problem is a creative. Anybody who can logically figure out something that makes something that saves our world, that's a creative. And so I will tell you, I'm going to change a couple little things on your mind during this class. I want to give you some fun things to think about. Those of you, I realize for some people, they're like, what are you talking about actually? So tonight I was laughing before I come on here. I was talking to my mom, who's actually my original creative. She is, was creative day one with me when I was a kid. So I just grew up this way and I am very much this way. And my sister, who's amazing, is not. And so she's like, I don't get what you two are always doing and all this kind of stuff. Why this matters is that there really is, again, this great general use of a muse. And so what I want to do as a teacher, master's level adult teacher, right, is help the public see what an amazing resource this is. Mostly for just like passion, joy, and fun in life, but also for the business owners. And I really think that it will definitely be taught. It will become eventually a neutral word. My disclaimer caution tonight is, did you hear me? Don't sue me. My disclaimer is, be careful out there until the word muse is as generally accepted as a neutral, beautiful thing it is, like a mentor. We understand what a mentor is, right? So a mentor is somebody who you can learn from. They typically have more experience than you. We understand mentor to be, my mentor might know they formally are my mentor. They may formally have agreed to be my mentor, or they may have no idea. I consider you my mentor and I'm learning from you out in the world and we've never even talked. We get all that, right? So a muse, I'm going to bring some more pieces in here and help you out. It is different. It is apples and oranges, okay? These are very different things, a muse and a mentor. However, they're both great and beautiful, and a mentor is a little more logical approach to something. A muse is a much different thing, and I will help you along here. So this is, again, what we're going to talk about tonight. Why I want to do this class is I want to share how beneficial it can be for everybody, and also how fun it can be to have a muse or muses. And I actually have been a muse. I am a muse. I have several different kinds of muses. I have a personal muse. I have a special business muse. And so I'll tell you about that tonight. So to muse is a verb. And normally I don't get too teachery on my lives. I don't even give the definition of things because I'm street smart, right? And we are too stuck. Everybody keeps calling it out of the box. I've been out of the box for 30 some years by now. I don't even call it out of the box. It's just creative. That's all it is. And so to even give definitions of things, we are too stunted. That wrecks us. And so I realize some people get really annoyed because they're the grammar police. I am not usually somebody the grammar police like very well. And it's okay. We can respect each other and not get along. I am purpose do a lot of things that are really part of my street smart teaching that I don't even use words and words smithing. I'm a word artist, and so I'm kind of known about that in my speeches and some of the things that I do. And I do it on purpose. I make up words, all of that stuff, because as a society, yes, we need to understand some things, but also we are so stuck in a box, in a literal thing of what the dictionary said, and the dictionary is wrong a lot. So this is only like probably teachery thing I'll give you is 2 definitions here. That's about it you're going to get from me. So to muse is a verb. The dictionary says it's a period of reflection or thought. Well, that's too boring to get down the road of a muse. Let me tell you something. So it's a pondering, a meandering. It's supposed to be fun. Like a period of reflection or serious thought makes it sound like such a perseverating, like problematic thing. And a muse, there's nothing about a muse, just so you know, that is supposed to be dry or boring or litigious or methodical. It's not. It's so not methodical. So a muse, just remember, is all about pleasure and fun and discovery and intellectual challenge, which I will get into for you. So to muse is a verb. A muse is a noun. And I'll get just 1 second into one history about it, and then I'm done. Like, I'm so not stuck in things, right? So a muse is a noun. In the past, we would say just a muse has to be a person. Well, that's not true. It's a noun. And so technically, a muse can be a thing, person, place, or thing, right? Your muse may be a place you go. And that is fabulous. Lots of you have that. So I want to help those of you who are more logical and also don't consider yourself a creative to go, you are, watch this. So you might have a special place that you like to go walk, let's say. That is a musing place for you, perhaps. So not every place you walk is a muse. I can think of one person in particular, and there's one place that he likes to go. That particular place is musy for him, is a muse. If he's walking elsewhere, it might not be. So it can be particular places that inspire you or help you think out different things or challenges or any of those kind of things. So it can be a place. Exercise can be a muse. And a lot of people don't think about this way. Again, a muse is special. So a muse is not just everything. I don't want to confuse people tonight as I get excited and show you all this stuff in mainstream. But for some people, it can be. So like for me, it didn't used to be. I didn't used to ever understand that running could be a muse for me. But about 3 years ago, running sometimes is a muse for me. And I use it in my creative thought process of just, I'm just going to run for a while and let something go. And almost always I come off with tons of ideas when I get off running. And so it can be. What I'm going to focus on tonight, just so you know, is a person muse. And that's what we're going to mostly talk about. So way back in the day that screwed everybody up because that's all they think it is that, a muse was really from Greek mythology, or some people will say Roman. I don't know about that, but I say Greek a lot. And again, it was nine sisters. And so it got down this road of woohoo, that exciting stuff. And it got stuck there. And those 9 goddesses were in charge of course, the sciences and the spirits of creative things and all that kind of stuff. Well, that gets stuck in society of a very, very one side of the brain, like, juicy off-rated thing. And it doesn't move anywhere. And that's where we then lose an amazing opportunity to think about this muse thing. The second definition or purpose of the muse in history has been this: to inspire. If you learn nothing else from me tonight, please understand a muse is someone who inspires. Therefore, it makes really good sense of why should we just keep it in the category of for what you think is creative art and not business. If a muse is to inspire you, we should have muses in business, right? We should definitely have muses in business. And so that's why I want to tell you all about this. Here's the thing. Most people don't understand. So I think this is really important because, and I'll explain it to you even with myself, I'll show you some of my categories of muses. So a source of inspiration is especially a guiding genius. The muse is a guiding genius, and they may not even realize they are one or what they're doing or any of these things. But musing and creativity is technically about intelligence. So we think of intelligence as in academic and in logical and those sort of things. And intelligence is this juicy, creative, thoughtful, business innovation, all of that. And so it is a way to play with intelligence. And what happens a lot of times is, I'm going to call it the person. In history, we would have inserted the artist, and it's too limited. So everything I refer to going forward, I'm now going to call the person. And so I am the person, and this is about my muse as I'm explaining this to you. And I'll give you other examples. But I think that's really exciting to think about, is that, the muse is not an everyday person for you, for sure. And somebody might feel that person's a muse for me, and the next person could go, oh, no way, that's not. Guess why? Because we all react and get intrigued and interested in people and things differently. So it makes a ton of sense that somebody could be a muse for me and they are not for you. That's good too, because we don't want one muse used for 700 people, because it might be too much, right? So that is one good fun thing. Again, I did this, sorry. Here's the thing. So a muse, what they're doing, and they may or may not know. And so I'll share more details about this. The muse doesn't need to know. I think that's so brilliant. If everybody doesn't have a muse, you're missing out, because the muse doesn't even need to know, and they don't even need to give permission. All you need to do is don't be weird if the person doesn't know, or if in general society it may freak the person out. Don't go tell somebody they're your muse, because they may not take it well. And I'll cover a little bit more of that. But again, the whole idea is that the muse is giving the person ideas and challenging them and all of that. Sometimes, like back in normal things, a spouse might have even been your muse. So if you see way back in history, often it was the wife that was the muse. And that was for either a writer, or even in history and business. If you watch this is what I think is fun when I catch on to things. I go, let's talk about this a minute. There have been tons of muses way back even in business, because if you watch even back to the 50s, they'll say, my wife inspired this thing for me. Well, hello, the wife was a business muse for the man who created the business. And so it's been going on forever. We just didn't necessarily talk or understand this. So the muse may straight up give you ideas. So it might be very known, like, you are my muse. They agree, the two of you totally get that. You might be muses for each other, both at the same time. You might also be in a category where they are my muse, but I am not theirs. And that is okay. Don't ever be offended, because again, to find a muse is an amazing thing. So it doesn't have to be this even Steven matchup. Everything about a muse is about free flow and not restriction and not containers and not rules, so that it opens up intelligence and play and enjoyment is a lot of the purpose. And I'll check the chat in just a minute. I just want to get us to a little bit of a part that we understand some of the stuff. So it's all about intelligent play and challenge. So here's the thing. Some people, it's super easy for them to be a muse. I have been a muse for a long time, and I'll explain more of that. And a lot of it, my whole point, like an overall arching of social media, is to inspire, right? That's a piece of just being a muse or being muse-like for people, that hopefully you trigger something in their life or whatever. But it is this whole thing, catch this carefully. A muse is supposed to be all pleasurable. And so you do not criticize. That is a gift. That's a really big gift among two people or a group of people. And so if you're going to get into criticism and feedback and things, then move over into a mentoring category. Don't wreck the muse. So see why it's hard to be a muse, where a muse is able to listen and understand. And here's a concrete example. So here's the muse. And often the muse knows different things than the person. That's why this thing goes well. Because if you both know the same thing and everything about everything, sometimes you can do that and it works okay. But a lot of times they're very different. And that's what makes it kind of fun. But often, in terms of this enjoyable and challenge and whatever, the muse might be here. They get together either physically or not. Sometimes it's not even, and there's banter or discussion or play or any of these things. And then the person goes off to try something and does whatever and then comes back. And so it's this constant challenge and play and enjoyment and back out. And they both might be doing it again. But that's the most important thing to say. And as a creative, that's part of this word that I really care about us hanging on to, because it was meant to be this this really special, joyous piece. Again, the muse can be actively involved, meaning I could go to my muse and say, I want to talk to you about this. Like, I have this idea, and like, this is happening, and I'm so excited about it. And the muse says, great, let's, what are you thinking? Or what do you, and they may not be somebody who's questioning you. They just might be the source for you. And so this is the part that's interesting. And I'll get into it. Lots of times the muse doesn't even know they are your muse, or that is going on. That's what I think is so brilliant about it, because you can still enjoy the process. You can enjoy the tool. And again, that person doesn't have to have a clue. So here's an example. I have a personal muse, and the person, just very, very different intellect, but the person, I'll say he is incredibly intelligent. And I have a very different way of knowing and playing and using my intelligence. And so it is interesting, because I've not been in that particular kind of a muse situation before. And some of the things are, we'll have a conversation, so sometimes we'll have a conversation. I remember the very first time we talked, again, it doesn't have to be long times, but it was 5 hours. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have never experienced this before. And it was conversation of all different realms. Other times we might watch a movie, and I'll pick one time, he picks one the next time. They're so radically different. And at the same time, our core is the same. And so what's fun about it is, he'll see it or whatever from a different perspective. I'm over here. I know for him, there's pieces of us that are so incredibly different that it's fun, that it sparks, a knowing or a different piece. And I have gathered so much understanding and all of that. That's amazingly interesting. And he also happens to be my special business muse. He is in a massively, totally different category than myself. So way down the road and all that kind of stuff. But again, both of those two things, the person never knew for 2 years. I just told the person 2 days ago when I was going to do this class. So even though the person's actively involved in my life and all this kind of stuff and whatever, had no idea. So and again, luckily he took it as a great, huge compliment, as it's meant to be. And it wasn't weird. He totally got it right away. And again, it's our intelligence playing with each other, and challenging each other and all that good kind of stuff. So that is something kind of cool. So this is the other piece that's really important, and it sometimes goes well and sometimes it doesn't. Like, the muse is often challenging and the champion of the person. So again, I have different kinds of muses, but the one I was just telling you about, one of the things that's super cool is it's one of my biggest supporters and champions, and that makes me feel braver to go try stuff that I wasn't ever going to think I was going to try to do, or that kind of thing. It feels great to be a champion of somebody, right? That part's enjoyable, and it's fun to watch the discovery. It's fun to watch as the years go by, to go, oh my gosh, look at when I first met you and look at you now, which is kind of cool. And again, the muse just watches, the person's just, you're together, and then the person goes out and does their work, and then they come back and see how the progress goes. I'm going to check the chat and see how far down the road I happen to be, if anybody's got a comment. Hey, Gerard, thank you so much for showing up. Isn't this fun? Gerard's in the hospitality, huge leadership category. And so I appreciate you showing up. I would like to talk to you after the fact, because isn't this interesting that we could very much shape this and get this into a work category that could be really amazing for people at work. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. So thank you. And Dave, thank you so much. Exactly. So Dave is, again, another somebody who is incredibly intelligent, a business owner. This is exactly my point. So I'm glad Dave's catching this. And so I always want more leaders and more people, but also more everyday people to catch on to this whole idea of, this is so brilliant. And if we would just normalize it and take it out of the category of it's just for creatives or it's for sex, because that's a whole sensationalized thing in history and mythology and movies that has gotten the bad rap of the muse stuck. And yet, really, if you take it into a business context and you talk about it with the spirit of which and the joy of which a muse is really supposed to be used, it could be amazingly common and really normal, and not an HR issue, right? If we speak it well and do it well and explain it to its good use and show some really good examples. So I will do that as well. I'm going to tell you about a couple other types of muses and things that I have done because it's been going on forever. I have a creative muse. And so Faith Dye, I'll say her name because everybody knows that she and I are well connected. She is my closest, best creative muse right now. And so she is a very good friend. She is also a huge business collaborator with me. We both enjoy, and our most biggest mission is this whole thing about making an impact in the world. We keep each other brave every day while we're doing our social media and help. And then she does videography and marketing videography for people. I obviously do it in the novice category, using it as the tool. And on the front side, she is now on the back side. But she is my closest, best creative muse. And so what we're able to do for each other in both business and friendship and all this stuff is have these amazing conversations on the backside of like, oh my gosh, I didn't know about this or that or whatever. She and I have made a commitment this last year to just really push each other. And it's amazing where we're at. She actually is going to fly down to Naples and meet me because she and I are going to do some really cool, she has done some of my professional real estate profile videos. And she is going to come down to Naples with me for part of the time and do a couple creative videos that are for builders and some of my work down there. So I'm super excited about that. We each do our own individual work and stuff. And then when it is nice out in weather, we will, just for a concrete for you guys, we will go meet each other for a walk, but we walk in an arboretum where it's all trees and nature and there's hardly anybody around. So it's just the two of us and we're bantering back and forth and whatever. She and I are also somebody who multiple times in a week will touch base with each other about, oh my gosh, did you think about this? Or what about that? Or are you really going to do this? And so you can see I treasure her because other than my mom, who's very creative, I don't have another creative muse. I used to way back in elementary school, and that was the last time for me. So a muse can come and go. A muse is not your muse the entire time. They might be. I mean, maybe you have a lifetime muse. What an amazing, beautiful thing. But a lot of times a muse fits a certain purpose or category. And sometimes your muse changes because watch this. Sometimes you outgrow the muse, right? Sometimes you outgrow the muse, or you decide we've mused enough. It is fabulous. It is beautiful. And each of us are ready to go on if you're both each other's muse and do our next thing. I will always wish you well. We will connect. It's fun to connect with past muses, 5 years later, like, oh my gosh, what did you end up doing? So a muse is not a set period of time and all of that as well. So the muse process is uninhibited. It is uninhibited. That's the part that's really important. Because see, when you're a mentor, you have a different process, right? And a different purpose. And it's sometimes casual, but it's still a very within the box thing, actually, if you want to use that term, of what you're trying to do and the purpose and the goal and whatever. The main big function besides inspiring of being a muse is getting uninhibited. Because when you're uninhibited, that's where the ideas spark. That's where innovation comes. That's when I'm talking to somebody and I go, oh my gosh, like here's the situation. Like I hadn't really thought about this before. Or you said something and that stuck with me. And here's what I'm thinking about that. So that's kind of cool. Okay. So I've already explained to you this part about the two muses, let's say, or the muse and the person don't need to be the same at all. And oftentimes it's great if they're not. So like Faith and I are very similar and that's beautiful. And we're both creatives and we're in this interesting category. Sometimes to be total opposites, because the whole point is take someone where they don't know, right? To inspire them, to show them something, to enjoy something, to whatever. That is a lot of the cool process about it. Tip. And yet you're not trying to. So the part that's hard for me to explain tonight is so that you don't faux pas and become a counselor. You are not a counselor at all for the person that you serve as a muse for. You aren't. So when I see this comment here, if you want to be a muse, help the person let go of their baggage and be free. That is, don't be a manager. So get out of your leadership head. and get out of your professional coach head if you are one, and get out of your mom head and your dad head and your coach head and any of those things that you maybe do. This is really important because it's a huge skill to be able to do, but yet you're not doing it concrete. So let me explain this to you. You're helping the person let go of their baggage, but you're not talking about their baggage. Okay. So the person, not the muse, might say, oh my gosh, and they're verbalizing some of the things they're hung up about or whatever. The muse is just this gentle guide over here going, that's okay, and distracting, and they're on to the next thing. Or the person gets stuck again right over here, and the muse is, come this way. It's not you need to stop that and write it on a piece of paper and cross it out. It's none of that stuff. So it is a very different, gentle, everything of this stuff is a bit spiritual without being weird, right? The muse's greatest gift is that they help the person be free, uninhibited, to experience a carefree spirit during the time. So you might even only, let's say you're physically together, you might only be together 20 minutes, but in that 20 minutes, you are able to just forget about everything else going on. And in that 20 minutes, you were able to have like just some sacred, really special time with that person. It inspires you. You're able to go on then and get back to life, right? Because some of reality is going to be different when we're not musing. But that is what some of the greatest gifts of a muse, besides inspiration, can be. The muse is often something, again, that the person doesn't know. And so it can be in a specific category. So I'll give you a concrete and then I'll give you one in business. I'll give you a creative and I'll give you one in business. So an example, which might be more logical and help everybody in mainstream understand, is it might be a situation where somebody's never been, this is artistic, might never been to a museum before. And the person wants the muse who's skilled and understands museums and pieces and all this kind of stuff. They want to go. And so the muse is serving as the person in that museum setting. I, the novice, know absolutely nothing about it. I want to enter this world. I feel awkward. I don't know the rules. I don't know that, blah, blah, blah. And the muse is like, we're just going on an adventure. It's all that matters. And they guide you gently. And it's not the lecture teach stuff. It's the, and it's the gentle comments about, did you notice anything about her eyes in the painting instead of, and if I would point out to you the historical purpose of the eyes and the no eye shot, like that's being a mentor. Okay. So that's a spot there. Take it into business, because I want to focus on that for the rest of the time here as well. Take it into business. I have somebody else I'm thinking about actually right now who's a business owner, who's a huge creative inventor. And we need a lot more innovation right now in all regards, right? And so this person, this person knows a lot more than me. They're very much more experienced than me. And they may be questioning me, but not again in a lecture manner of, what do you see about this? Like we have both just experienced something, let's say in business, that's causing a problem or whatever. And he might say to me, what are you thinking about that? What do you see? And it sparks something of, oh my gosh, I see this opportunity. I have a couple of these going on in real estate right now. And people are like, how are you seeing this, Sherry? And I'm like, because I'm like sitting out in this other realm of, I know certain things about it. And it's triggering ideas for me. And I have these different people that serve as sparks for me, inspiration. And it helps me see, something in that category that's different. So, all right. I'm just looking at my notes here for you guys. The muse inspires the person to create something that works. So this may or may not be a part of the process. I'll say that carefully. But when we're talking about business, if you're going to have a business muse, this might be a purpose of the muse, is to help the person create something that works. So a concrete, great example right now, doesn't need to be a physical product, doesn't need to be service, could be society, right? The muse might help inspire the person to create something that would work for society right now, that will help us all be better. That'd be amazing. And so then the person goes out and does their work after they were sparked by the muse. Might be a situation. Types of muses. And so again, we've talked about there can be creative muses. So in a concrete example that is creative, but also business, gosh, 2009 was the first time I ran a muse group. And so I ran a group, a mastermind all over the world that were for content creators and authors. And my whole job, I had, at one point run teleclasses with 80,000 people in them. But for this particular mastermind, it was actually only 7 people, and we met weekly. And the whole point of it was to inspire each other for not just the creative part of being an author and doing the work, but in the part of creating it as a business. So the whole goal of that group was that each person within their creating would be profitable. And so we spent an entire year musing with each other, sharing information, a lot more of a free flow platform. And then my job was facilitator leader, right? Of like, triggering the muses, and we were muses to each other. Right now, I'm doing another group that I have 19 in, that we are all content creators. And so each of us, the whole purpose of the group is musing, right? And supporting each other's musing. Some of us might be more of a muse within that group to each other or not. Some of us in the group may not even be a muse for somebody else, but the whole purpose of the group, again, which is a business group, because we're all promoting our work and the stuff that we do in that format, that is a muse group, technically. People might call it something else, but hello, like that is what it is. Muses can be a child. A child is children are amazing muses. Watch this. So that would be a muse, a life muse. Okay. So a different category I'll talk to you about is a life muse. Children are incredible muses because they are, first of all, incredibly funny. They don't understand how the world works right now, but they might be the ones that are even more brilliant than some of us think we are, because they say things that are just like out of the mouth of babes we talk about, right? Or they might have an idea because they aren't hung up about all the socializing that's been given to them yet about what they're supposed to do or how it's supposed to go or any of that kind of stuff. Children play to get ideas and to trigger things, and children play to learn. That's a muse, right? And so a life muse could be, as a subject, a child. A life muse can also be, I see somebody who is the way in life I would love to be. So it's somebody aspirational and a life and a living and something of the way you would like to do. That might be an example of a muse. There are business muses, as we have talked about. You might have a health muse. So, right, see, open up your mind to every single category, really. I can't think of one that doesn't have a muse, because watch this. Like, I will even go into the category of accounting for 1 second just to demonstrate something. Maybe you have an accounting muse, because the muse is somebody who's using their intelligence in a way that is challenging and different, still meets the law and all of that. But the accounting muse might think and know and apply the work in a way that you've not thought about, that inspires you to go, yes, here's the way I'm going to form my business, or use that practice or that function or that piece of. So even accounting can be musy, is an idea. Again, we talked about this whole thing. Here's where I want to stop for a minute in business. So I want to be careful. And a lot of leaders watch my stuff, and employees. And so I do want to make one caveat, careful comment here, and that would be disclaimer to HR and liability and weirdness, or inappropriate or offending. Okay. So again, the word muse, has a bit of this connotation. If we just talk about it matter of fact, like a muse, I have a business muse, it will start to be a normal thing. You may not, again, as I told, I think plenty of times, that you might not tell the muse. If you're going to share with the muse, or ask them, are you interested in being a muse? In certain situations, that might be okay. You would just want to make sure the person's not uncomfortable, So what I would do is normally have a conversation, a little bit of sprinkling even the comment of the word muse, and see how the person reacts, right? Because if they think, ooh, that's weird, like, don't talk to me like that, you might have to wait a little bit, or you might have to, have discussions. If people don't want you musing about them, don't. Shut your mouth. That's my comment. So if you say to somebody, oh my gosh, you're my muse, or I want you to be my muse, and they go, oh, I don't know about that, don't talk about it anymore. Just keep it to yourself, be quiet, do whatever you're going to do, but don't make the person uncomfortable. As we get known muses, here's the real deal. It's a huge compliment to be a muse. A muse is somebody, as I said, an incredible, special guiding genius. And so it is something really that, we will get to a place where we feel really comfortable and honored, or just it's special. We talked about this again. I'm going to tell you over and over again, the most secret sauce of a muse is not to criticize. And so it's a very different skill than a leader, right? because a muse sits over here and just lets the person fancy and enjoy, instead of in the roles that we have talked about. So write that one down. No criticizing if you're a muse. It's not necessarily that easy, but some are really good. And we talked about the length of the muse. Like you might honestly have somebody who is just a muse for an hour for you. Let's say you end up in a park and you are noticing somebody that just completely you're enthralled with, like they catch your attention. You will forget you'll know you're with a muse. Here's a concrete comment for you. You'll know you're with a muse if you like lose all track of time. So you get into the flow. Your mind is completely somewhere else. Like all reality can be going around you. And you are like enthralled with this person that you saw at the park for whatever they happen to be doing. And that ends up triggering some idea or thought for you. That was a muse just for that moment, right? So muses can be that quick and simple. I have a muse actually in Fort Myers, and a lot of people know this. So he is my Fort Myers angel. I met him in June of 2020. I'm gonna get a little teared up with my person here. I think he's close to 100. And I was sitting on the beach with one of my really good friends, and all of a sudden he appeared, and he was almost bent in half, just not able to stand up straight. And I had the biggest pulling in my heart of like, I know I'm supposed to go to him, but I don't know what I'm supposed to say. But I was in the middle of talking with my friend, and she understands. She's known me for 30 years. And I walked up to him and I just said, oh, are you searching for shells? And he said, yes, I'm actually shelling here. Were you shelling? He's asking me. And I had no idea about shelling at that point. And I said, no, actually, I'm just here with my friend and whatever. And he said, well, actually, I have something for you then. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, of course, I don't want to take anything from him, right? I just was so happy to see him. Honestly, the truth was I was worried about him because he was, almost 100 years old, walking with a cane on the beach. And clearly he was doing okay, but I was just worried about him. And I just felt pulled to go. He ends up giving me these angel wings, and I didn't even know what they were called before I had this experience with him. And he said, no, I want you to take them. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't take those for you. He said, they're almost impossible to find. And so then, of course, I thought, oh my gosh, I really can't take them. But when he held them out to me and he said, no, I really, really want you to take these. And the minute I held them in my hand, I just knew everything was going to be okay. That was like the biggest feeling that just waves over me. And so I have put this on social media. People have seen my angel's wings. He taught me how to clean them up. He was adorable and gave me a bag. And I said, do you normally come here? And he said, no, I normally go to Lover's Key. Why that mattered is I would have missed him. That wasn't the normal place he usually goes. And so that was a special musing situation for me that just felt like a great big huge moment that inspired me about a lot of different things. I was on that trip actually about humanity and all the really big huge hard things that were going on this spring and summer. And so that's why that was like a massive muse moment and situation for me. And I was back in Fort Myers in November. And of course, I'm doing my broadcasting and doing my things and whatever. And I'm thinking I'm never going to see him again. Like I just carry him in my heart a little bit, And I go, I just don't know when I'll never see him. I just didn't think I'd see him again, right? Because it may be health or it may be we just miss each other, right? Because he's here, I'm there. He doesn't go to that beach often. And luckily, my friend that I was with, same friend, I am doing some videos down in the lounge area. And all of a sudden, she texts me and she goes, your angel's here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she goes, run, he's on the beach. And so I went running across that beach to find him. I was so thrilled to just see him as a person. And I went running across that beach to see him. And I said, I don't know if you remember me, but I met you in June. And I just wanted to thank you again for the angel wings. I have them at home and I look at them every day. And he said, oh, you do? Well, look at what I have for you. And he had another set of angel's wings. And I was like, oh my gosh. I said, that's so beautiful. I can't believe you told me those are so hard to find. And he said, I want you to have these. I said, I can't have these. One is so amazing. And that's special. I appreciate all this kind of stuff. And he said, no, I want you to take these. These are really important. And he said, I'm so happy to see you again. So I don't know if I'll see him again when I go in a couple weeks or not. But again, I brought those back and I gave those to my mom. I have had one of my business people I talked about right here, actually unbelievable, on that same beach, but a different spot. He ended up catching them, and he is a light inventor. And the coolest thing was he washed his and set them up on, he was staying in an Airbnb down there, and he set them on the deck, and he took a photograph, and the sun, the beam was coming in onto his angel's wings that looked like it was direct from the sun right onto them. And he didn't even notice it in the photograph. But again, he's a light engineer, an amazing inventor. And I was like, oh my God, it's on my, actually my Facebook page. So my Sherry St. Marie, brokered by EXP, the photo of that is on there, and it's just absolutely amazing. So again, sorry, I got all fired up about this, but there could be all these different muses like that gentleman. I think I have seen him in my entire lifetime, maybe 20 minutes total. And it was a pretty great message. So that stuff can happen. And I think we are done. I'm sure you have all kinds of questions. I'll pop back over to the chat before I'm done. The most important thing is to enjoy and have fun with the musing. There are so many more logical, I don't know why I use that word logical, uses you can use for a business muse. I am happy for those of you who want to contact me and have a little bit more discussion about it. But I was thrilled tonight to bring you this super great idea that really should be used very commonly in business. It is an amazing treasure, a lot of fun, super great. I would love nothing more than getting every single person who ever sees this or knows me to start musing and enjoying muses and being a muse and all of that kind of stuff. That would make me super happy if that's a piece of my legacy give. So I'm going to pop over to the chat. And so Dave is asking me, how long have you been aware of the use of the word muse in this context? Well, that's a great question. I guess I'm aware of it way back to the 50s of men having their wives as a muse who become a business. So that would be my answer for you, Dave. I myself have been using it in business since 2009. So that would be my comment there. I so appreciate all of you who showed up for the live. I really appreciate everybody rewatching the recording. Again, I think this is a fantastic idea for all of us. I hope you take it with the intent that it is and the gift that it is. It's a special word to me. And I'm really happy that we're able to use it and enjoy it and all of that kind of good stuff. I wish you the best life enjoyment and success and wonderful things with the word muse and really good business innovations. That's why. So business innovations and life satisfaction and passion could be hugely helped by this concept of muse. Have a great night, everybody.